everyone. I have always trusted reviews. That's how this started. 5 stars, 112 ratings. Peaceful, private, perfect weekend escape. The photos showed a modern cabin tucked into a pine forest somewhere in northern Vermont. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a wraparound deck, a stone fireplace, soft golden lighting, minimalist decor. It was exactly what I needed. My name is Claire Bennett. I work remotely, which means burnout looks different for me. It isn't loud or dramatic. It creeps in quietly through insomnia, skipped meals, emails answered at 3:17 a.m. I booked a place for 3 nights in early November. No one else was coming. I wanted silence. I got it. The drive up was beautiful. Winding roads through forest painted in late autumn colors, bare branches scratching the gray sky, occasional lakes reflecting pale light. Cell service dropped about 20 minutes before I reached the location. That didn't worry me. The listing had mentioned it. Limited reception. Perfect for disconnecting. The final stretch of road was unpaved. Gravel crunched under my tires as I followed the GPS directions deeper into the woods. The cabin appeared suddenly between trees, just as pictured. Modern, angular, glass walls reflecting the forest. It looked staged for a magazine cover. I parked beside a small wooden sign that read, "Welcome, Claire." That made me smile. Personal touch. I grabbed my bag and walked to the door. A keypad glowed faintly. I entered the code sent to me earlier that morning. The door clicked open. Warm air greeted me. It smelled like cedar and something faintly floral. Inside, the place was immaculate. White walls, polished concrete floors, carefully arranged throw blankets. The fireplace crackled softly, already lit. I paused. That was odd. The listing hadn't mentioned a caretaker, and I had told the host my arrival would be around 6 p.m. It was 5:12. I checked my phone. No signal. Maybe the fire was on a timer. Still, something about walking into an already burning fireplace unsettled me slightly. I brushed it off. Luxury hosts do things like that. The host name was Daniel Mercer. Profile photo, mid-30s, friendly smile, trimmed beard. He had multiple properties listed, all 5-star. He'd sent a message earlier that morning. "Make yourself at home, everything is prepared." That phrase stuck with me later. Everything is prepared. I did a quick walkthrough of the cabin. Living room, kitchen, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and a small locked door at the end of a short hallway. I assumed it was a utility closet. The rest of the place was spotless. Too spotless. No dust anywhere. Not even behind the TV stand. The bed was perfectly made, sheets tucked so tightly they looked iron. On the kitchen island sat a small basket, artisan bread, a wedge of cheese, a bottle of red wine, and a handwritten note. "For your first evening." No signature. Just that. It was thoughtful, but impersonal, like a hotel. Night fell quickly in the forest. By 7 p.m., the world outside the windows was pitch black. No neighboring cabins, no distant lights, just trees. The silence was thick. Not uncomfortable yet, just complete. I poured a glass of wine and curled up on the couch with a book. That's when I noticed the first strange detail. The thermostat read 72 degrees, but the air felt cooler. Not cold, just subtly cooler than it should have been. I adjusted it to 74. Nothing changed. The fireplace crackled steadily, but the warmth didn't reach me. I told myself I was imagining it. Forest air does strange things to perception. Around 9 p.m., I heard a soft sound, like a footstep. From outside, I froze. The deck wrapped around the cabin and the living room windows faced directly into it. I slowly turned my head. Nothing, just darkness. I waited. Another sound, closer this time. Wood creaking, the deck boards. I stood carefully and stepped toward the window. pressed my face close to the glass. Blackness stared back. Then, movement. A shape passing between trees. Quick. Too quick to identify. My pulse quickened. Probably a deer. Or raccoon. This was the woods. I laughed at myself. Locked the doors anyway. I slept lightly. Sometime after midnight, I woke to the sensation of being watched. You know that feeling. That awareness without proof. The bedroom was dark except for faint moonlight filtering through sheer curtains. I lay still, listening. The house creaked softly, wood adjusting to temperature, wind brushing against glass. Then, a faint click from the hallway. My eyes snapped open. Another click, like a door handle being tested. I sat up slowly. The bedroom door was closed. The hallway light was off, but I could see a thin sliver of illumination under the door. A moving shadow. My throat tightened. The shadow passed by the gap, paused, then moved back the other direction. Deliberate, slow. I grabbed my phone. No signal. I opened the AirBnB app anyway. The page wouldn't load. Just a spinning circle. I whispered, "Hello." Silence. The shadow returned. Stopped directly outside my door. The handle didn't turn. No knock. Just stillness. Minutes passed. I didn't move. Eventually, the shadow faded. The hallway light went dark. I didn't sleep again. Morning light made everything feel absurd. The forest looked peaceful. Golden. Harmless. I checked the hallway. No signs of disturbance. The locked door at the end remained closed. I tried the handle. Still locked. Probably a storage room. Still. I messaged Daniel through the app. "Hey, just checking. Does anyone else have access to the property?" The message showed as sent, not delivered. No response. I made coffee and stepped onto the deck. The air was crisp. The boards beneath my feet felt slightly damp. I looked down. Footprints. Bare footprints. Leading across the deck. Toward the living room windows. They weren't mine. They were larger. And the toes pressed deep into the wood as if someone had stood there for a long time. Watching. My heart pounded. I rushed inside. Locked the sliding door. Checked every window. All locked. All intact. There was no sign of forced entry. And yet, someone had been on the deck. I decided to leave. The peaceful retreat suddenly felt staged. Like a set. I packed my bag quickly. Walked to my car. Opened the driver's door. Paused. The seat was reclined. I hadn't adjusted it. The rearview mirror was angled slightly downward, as if someone shorter had used it. Cold realization spread through me. I stepped back. The forest felt closer. The trees taller. I checked the ground around the car. No additional footprints. Just gravel. I forced myself into the driver's seat. Turned the key. The engine sputtered, then died. I tried again. Nothing. The dashboard flickered, then went dark. I stared at it. My car had been fine yesterday. I got out, walked back toward the cabin. I would call roadside assistance once I had signal, but when I reached for my phone, it was at 3% battery. It had been nearly full last night. The app still wouldn't load. The listing now displayed a strange error. This property is no longer available. Panic began to creep in. Not sharp, not explosive, just a slow tightening. I returned inside. The temperature felt colder now. The fireplace was out. The basket on the kitchen island was gone. No bread, no cheese, no wine, as if it had never been there. The note too, gone. I walked slowly toward the hallway. The locked door stood at the end. I stared at it. The wood around the frame looked slightly worn, like it had been opened many times. I pressed my ear against it. Silence. Then, a faint scraping sound. From inside, My breath caught. I stepped back. The handle turned slowly, on its own. The door creaked open. Inside was a small room. No windows. Concrete walls. A desk. 3 monitors mounted on the wall. All black. Below them, a small DVR system. My stomach dropped. I stepped closer. Pressed the power button on one monitor. It flickered to life. Security footage. Multiple angles. Living room. Bedroom. Kitchen. Deck. The footage wasn't live. It was recorded. Clips labeled by date. Scrolling back. Dozens of stays. Different guests. Different faces. All unaware. The camera angles were hidden. High corners. Smoke detectors. Vent covers. I felt sick. This wasn't just surveillance for safety. This was observation. Intimate. Intrusive. The most recent clip was labeled with today's date. I clicked it. The footage showed me last night, standing at the window, watching the darkness. Then, the camera angle shifted to outside, on the deck, a man standing inches from the glass, watching me, his face partially obscured, but familiar. Daniel Mercer. He stood there motionless for over 2 hours, just watching. My hands shook violently. I scrolled further. Older footage, different guests, at night, sleeping, and in some clips, Daniel entering quietly, standing at the foot of their beds, watching, not touching, not speaking, just observing. A ritual. The scraping sound came again. Behind me. I turned. The hallway was empty, but the front door stood open. I hadn't opened it. Cold air spilled inside, and there he was, standing at the threshold, calm, smiling faintly. "You weren't supposed to look in there," he said softly. His voice was gentle, almost disappointed. I backed away. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him. "You all choose this place," he continued. "You all want isolation." I felt my pulse hammering in my throat. "You want to disappear for a while. I just help with that." The words felt wrong, warped. I ran toward the bedroom, locked the door, pressed my back against it. He didn't pound, didn't shout, just waited. Minutes passed. Then, a soft click, the door unlocking from the outside. I don't remember every detail after that clearly. Fear does that. It fragments memory. I remember the smell of cedar, the sound of steady breathing behind me, the weight of silence. I remember running again, through the living room, out the back sliding door, into the forest, branches clawing at my arms, roots tripping my feet. I didn't look back. I ran until my lungs burned, until the cabin was out of sight, until the trees swallowed everything. Then, I stopped, because ahead of me, between the trees, I saw it again. The same cabin, modern, angular, glass walls glowing warmly. My car parked outside, as if untouched, as if reset. The forest stretched endlessly in every direction. And no matter which way I turned, there it was, the cabin, waiting. My phone died in my hand. The sky above was colorless, still, silent. I walked toward the cabin slowly, because there was nowhere else to go. The door stood open, warm light spilling out. Inside, the fireplace crackled. On the kitchen island sat a small basket, artisan bread, cheese, wine, and a handwritten note. "Welcome back, Claire. I don't know how many times I've tried to leave now. The forest loops. The road never appears. The app doesn't exist anymore. The host doesn't answer. Sometimes I see headlights in the distance. Another guest arriving. Another person seeking silence. If you ever book a remote cabin with flawless reviews, if the host promises perfect privacy, If everything looks too carefully arranged, check the smoke detectors, check the vents, check for doors that shouldn't be locked. And if you find a room with monitors, don't watch the footage. Don't confirm your suspicions. Because once you know, the stay never ends. The listing might disappear. The host might vanish. But the cabin remains, waiting. 5 stars. Every time. Story 2. I booked the place because it was cheap. That should have been my first warning. My name is Marcus Hale. I'm 31, freelance videographer, constantly traveling for short documentary gigs. I've stayed in dozens of Airbnbs over the years. Lofts, basements, spare bedrooms, converted garages. You learn to scan reviews quickly. Look for red flags. Overly emotional praise. Identical phrasing. No critical feedback. This one had 47 reviews. All 4 or 5 stars. Nothing dramatic, just bland positivity. Great stay. Host was responsive. Accurate listing. The place was a renovated townhouse in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio. 2 bedrooms, self-check-in, shared property, but host rarely on site. I only needed 3 nights. Easy. The neighborhood was too uniform. Identical townhouses lined both sides of the street. Beige siding, small porches. Identical hedges trimmed to the same height. Even the mailboxes matched. I parked in the assigned driveway spot. The listing had said Unit B, but there was no visible marking on the exterior. Just one front door. I checked the confirmation email again. Private entrance located on the side of the building. I walked around. There was a narrow gravel path between the townhouses. It led to a second door, half hidden by overgrown ivy. The keypad glowed faintly. I entered the code. The door unlocked with a soft click. Inside, the space looked clean but unfinished. White walls, sparse furniture, a faint smell of fresh paint. The air felt stale, like it hadn't been aired out properly. I stepped in and closed the door behind me. The lock clicked automatically. I tried the handle. It didn't open. I shrugged. Probably just auto-lock. The place was exactly as pictured. Living room with a gray couch and mounted TV. Small kitchen. Hallway leading to 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. Everything tidy. Almost staged. A folded sheet of paper set on the coffee table. Welcome, Marcus. No signature. Below it, you will be sharing the space with one other guest. Please respect their privacy. That wasn't mentioned in the listing. I opened the app to double check. Sure enough, it said entire place, not shared. My stomach tightened slightly. Maybe an oversight. I sent the host a message. Hey, listing says entire place, but welcome note says shared. Message delivered. No response. I chose the bedroom closest to the bathroom. The other bedroom door was closed. I knocked lightly. No answer. Maybe the other guest wasn't home yet. I unpacked, set up my camera gear on the desk, took a quick shower. The water pressure was weak but functional. The bathroom had no window, just a vent fan that hummed constantly, even when switched off. That bothered me. I flipped the switch again. The humming continued. Low. Constant. I left it alone. When I came back to the living room, I noticed something strange. The TV was on. Muted. Static image. Security camera footage. A hallway. My hallway. I stepped closer. It was a live feed. I could see myself standing in front of the TV. The angle was from above. Corner of the ceiling. I looked up. There was a small black dome near the smoke detector. I felt a spike of irritation. Maybe the host used security for shared spaces. Still, this wasn't mentioned anywhere. I grabbed my phone and started recording the screen. The front door opened. I turned. A man stepped in. Mid-20s, thin, pale, dark circles under his eyes. He paused when he saw me. You must be Marcus. His voice was soft, flat. "Yeah, you staying here too?" He nodded. "Just temporary." Silence stretched. "I thought I booked the whole place," I said carefully. "So did I." That wasn't comforting. His name was Evan. He carried only a backpack, no suitcase, no visible luggage. He walked straight to the other bedroom without another word and shut the door. I stood there unsettled. Maybe it was double booked. Mistakes happen. I messaged the host again. No reply. The security feed still played silently on the TV. I picked up the remote. It didn't respond. No buttons worked. The image flickered, then switched to another angle. The kitchen, then the bathroom hallway, then my bedroom, empty. I hadn't left the door open. A chill crawled down my spine. I walked down the hallway. My bedroom door was closed. I opened it. Everything was where I left it. I turned back toward the living room. The TV now showed me standing in the hallway. From behind, I felt exposed, observed. Evan's bedroom door creaked open slightly. His eye peered through the crack. "You see it too?" he asked quietly. I nodded. He opened the door wider. Inside his room, the walls were covered in small pinholes, as if something had been mounted repeatedly and removed. "There were more cameras when I got here," he said. "What?" "They take some down after you notice." My pulse quickened. "Who's they?" He didn't answer, just stared at the hallway ceiling. That night, I locked my bedroom door. I wedged a chair under the handle. The security feed on the TV continued playing, even after I unplugged it. The screen remained on. Around 2 a.m., I woke to a faint scratching sound. Inside the walls. Slow, dragging, like fingernails along drywall. I sat up in bed. Listened. The scratching moved. From one side of the room to the other. Deliberate. Following the length of the wall. Then stopped behind my headboard. My breathing grew shallow. A soft thud came from the other side. Then silence. I didn't sleep again. Morning light didn't make it better. The TV still displayed live footage, now showing both bedrooms side by side. Evan emerged from his room looking worse. "They move at night," he said. "Who?" He hesitated. "The co-host." I stared at him. "The listing doesn't mention one," I said. He shook his head. "Exactly. I tried calling the host directly. The number went to voicemail. Generic greeting. No name." I packed my bag. "I'm leaving," I said. Evan's expression tightened. "They won't let you." "Who?" He gestured vaguely upward. The ceiling. I walked to the side door, entered the code. It beeped red. I tried again. Red. The handle wouldn't budge. I moved to the front entrance. It was locked too, dead-bolted from outside. My chest tightened. "This isn't funny," I muttered. The TV switched angles again, now showing outside. 2 figures standing in the driveway, looking toward the house. I squinted. They were identical. Same height, same clothing. No faces visible, just blurred, static distorting their heads. I stepped back. Evan was staring too. "They come when someone tries to leave." My heartbeat thudded violently. The scratching started again, inside the walls, louder this time, traveling fast, encircling the house and like something crawling through insulation. The vent fan in the bathroom roared suddenly. The humming grew deeper, vibrational. I felt it in my teeth. The hallway ceiling cracked slightly, a thin line forming, dust falling. Evan backed away. "They expand," he whispered. "What expands?" "The house." The crack widened, not breaking open, stretching, like the wall was flexible. The security feed on the TV began looping images of us standing still, frozen, while in reality we were moving, desynchronized. The house felt larger than before, the hallway longer, my bedroom door further away. The dimensions were shifting, subtly, wrongly. I ran to the kitchen window, looked outside. The identical townhouses were gone. In their place, more versions of the same house, stretching endlessly in every direction. Each one identical. Each one with the same side entrance. Each one likely occupied. My stomach dropped. Evan grabbed my arm suddenly. They replace us. My throat went dry. With what? He swallowed. New hosts. The scratching grew frantic. Inside the walls. Above us. Below the floorboards. Then, a knock. From inside the wall. 3 slow taps. Directly behind the living room drywall. I stumbled back. Another 3 taps. Evan whispered, "Don't answer." The drywall bulged outward slightly, as if something pressed from within. A shape, human-sized, pushing against it. I felt bile rise in my throat. The bulge retreated, then moved sideways along the wall, tracking us. I grabbed a kitchen knife instinctively. Not that it would help. The TV flickered to a listing page. The same AirBnB, but the host photo had changed. It was Evan, smiling politely. 5-star rating. Responsive co-host. My blood ran cold. The image refreshed. Now it was me. Profile picture pulled from my account. Listing updated. Shared space with attentive co-host Marcus. The date updated to today. Check-in available. Evan stared at the screen in horror. That's what happened to the last one. Last one? He tried to break the wall. The scratching resumed. Right behind him. He backed up slowly. The drywall cracked. A thin gray hand slipped through. Long fingers. Jointed wrong. Grasping. Evan screamed. The hand shot forward unnaturally fast. Wrapped around his ankle. Pulled. The drywall didn't break. It absorbed him. Like water swallowing a stone. He vanished. The wall smoothed instantly. No crack. No dust. Nothing. The house grew quiet again. The TV refreshed. Host profile. Marcus Hale and co-host Evan L. Status, active. I'm alone now. The doors remain locked. The townhouses outside replicate endlessly. Sometimes I hear knocking from inside the walls. 3 taps. Always 3. The security feed shows new guests arriving occasionally. Confused. Dragging suitcases. Looking around. They don't see me. I try shouting. The sound doesn't carry. The house chooses who interacts. The app on my phone works again. Listing is live. 5 stars. Reviews appearing in real time. Marcus was incredibly helpful. Quiet, safe stay. Would book again. I never wrote those. I don't greet anyone. I don't move when they arrive. But on the security feed, there I am, smiling, welcoming them in, standing where the light hits just right. If you ever book a townhouse that says entire place, but mentions a co-host, cancel. If the vents hum when switched off, leave. If the walls feel slightly warm to the touch, don't stay overnight. Because the house doesn't need many hosts, just enough to keep the listing active. And if you're reading this review online, check the host profile picture carefully. If he looks tired, if his smile doesn't quite reach his eyes, if he seems like he hasn't slept, that's because he hasn't. And if you message him asking a question, he'll respond quickly. He has nothing but time. The scratching just started again. 3 taps. Behind me. I think they're ready to add another co-host. Story 3. I didn't read the house manual at first. That's the mistake people always make in horror stories. They ignore the obvious warning signs. But this wasn't that. There were no red flags, no creepy reviews, no isolated forest cabin. Just a normal suburban home in Portland, 3 bedrooms. Clean photos, professional host, super host badge. The listing said, "Please read the house manual carefully before your stay." I didn't, because who reads those? My name is Lena Ortiz. I'm 28. I was in Portland for a 3-week contract with a marketing agency. Hotels were overpriced. Airbnbs were cheaper. The place was called the Bluebird House. It looked safe. Normal. That word matters now. Normal. The neighborhood was quiet but not deserted. Kids' bikes on lawns, porch lights glowing, cars in driveways. The kind of street where people wave at each other. The Bluebird House was painted pale gray with blue shutters. Nothing ominous. No flickering lights. No peeling paint. Just a neat, well-maintained home. The check-in instructions were precise. Enter through the side gate. Use the keypad on the back door. Please lock the door immediately after entering. I followed them exactly. Inside, the house smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. It felt lived in but curated. Framed art on the walls. Bookshelves with actual books, not stage decor. A throw blanket folded on the couch. The welcome binder sat on the kitchen counter. Bright blue cover. "Welcome to the Bluebird House." I tossed my bag down and started unpacking. Didn't open the binder. That was the second mistake. The first 2 days were uneventful. Work during the day. Takeout at night. Quiet sleep. The only strange thing was the sound. At exactly 10:47 p.m., both nights I heard 3 soft knocks. From somewhere inside the house. Not the front door. Not the back. Inside. The first night I assumed it was plumbing. The second night I checked the doors. Nothing. It always happened at 10:47. Exactly. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. Then silence. I checked the time the second night out of curiosity. 10:47 p.m. I laughed nervously at the coincidence. Then forgot about it. On the third night, I finally opened the binder. Mostly because I was bored. The first few pages were standard. Wi-Fi password. Trash schedule. Checkout instructions. Then I turned to a page titled, "House Rules. Important. Do not open the attic hatch in the hallway ceiling. Do not remove or reposition the hallway mirror. If you hear knocking at 10:47 p.m., do not respond. Keep interior doors closed after 10:30 p.m. In the event of a power interruption, remain in your bedroom until 6 a.m. I stared at the page. My first thought was that the host had a weird sense of humor. Maybe it was meant to feel quirky. I checked the listing again. Nothing about this tone. Just normal hospitality language. I turned the page. There was a handwritten addition. "If any rule is broken, contact me immediately." No smiley face. No joke. I checked the host's name. Rebecca Sloan. Profile photo. Late 40s. Calm expression. 5 years hosting. Hundreds of reviews. I scrolled through them again. Nothing strange. No mention of rules. No mention of knocking. A cold sensation crept up my spine because I had already heard the knocking twice. And I had stood in the hallway listening. At 10:45 p.m. that night, I felt dread building. I don't know why I didn't just leave. Curiosity, maybe. Or pride. At 10:47 p.m., it happened again. 3 knocks. From the hallway. Pause. 2 knocks. I stood in the living room. The sound came from above. The ceiling. The attic. My eyes slowly lifted toward the attic hatch. It was square. Wooden. Flush with the ceiling. I remembered rule number 1. Do not open the attic hatch. The knocking didn't happen again. But I didn't sleep well. The next morning, I noticed something off. The hallway mirror had shifted slightly. Just a few inches. It hung opposite the bathroom door. I was certain it had been centered. Now it leaned subtly to the right. I approached it slowly. My reflection stared back. Normal. But behind me, The hallway looked longer in the mirror than it did in reality. Not dramatically, just subtly stretched. I blinked, turned around. The hallway was normal length. I looked back at the mirror. Still longer. My pulse quickened. I grabbed the frame and adjusted it back to center. Straightened it. Stepped back. The reflection snapped to normal length. I laughed at myself. Sleep deprivation. That's all. That evening, I messaged Rebecca. Hi, quick question. What's with the attic rule? Just curious. Her response came almost immediately. Please do not open it. No explanation. I typed again. And they knocking at 10:47? 3 minutes passed. 5. 10. Then, do not respond. That was it. My irritation grew. This felt staged, like an elaborate performance. I considered booking a hotel instead, but I'd already paid for the week, and nothing had actually happened. Not really. That night at 10:47 p.m., I stood directly under the attic hatch, waiting. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. Louder this time, directly above me. Without thinking, I knocked back. Once. Silence. Then, a single knock in return. My throat went dry. I whispered, "Hello?" The attic hatch shifted slightly. Just a tremor. Then stillness. My heart pounded violently. I stepped back slowly. Rule number 3. Do not respond. Too late. The power went out at 11:02 p.m. Total darkness. My phone lit the room faintly. No sound outside. No neighbors reacting. Just silence. Rule number 5 echoed in my mind. In the event of a power interruption, remain in your bedroom until 6 a.m. I walked quickly to my bedroom and shut the door. Locked it. Sat on the bed. My phone battery read 41%. The house felt different. Not louder, but occupied. A faint shuffling sound came from the hallway. Slow footsteps. Bare. Dragging slightly. Stopping outside my door. A soft exhale. Right on the other side. I covered my mouth to stop myself from breathing too loudly. The handle turned gently. Locked. The footsteps moved away. Then toward the bathroom. Then toward the living room. Exploring. The power flickered back on at 6:01 a.m. Exactly, or I didn't open the door until sunlight filled the room. The hallway was empty. The attic hatch stood slightly ajar. I packed my suitcase immediately. This was beyond quirky. This was wrong. I grabbed the step stool from the kitchen, positioned it under the attic hatch. My hands trembled as I pushed it open fully. A ladder folded down slowly. Dust fell lightly into the hallway. The attic smelled stale, old wood and insulation. I climbed halfway up, shone my phone flashlight inside. There was no storage, no boxes, just a small space, and something carved into the floorboards. Names, dozens of them, carved with something sharp. Different handwriting, different depths. Under the names, dates, years spanning back at least a decade. Some scratched out violently. My blood ran cold. At the far end of the attic, there was a mattress, thin, stained, and beside it, a small camera mounted on a beam, pointed directly at the hatch, recording whoever opened it. My stomach churned. This wasn't paranormal. This wasn't mysterious. Someone had been living up here, watching, waiting. I climbed down slowly, closed the hatch, dialed 911. No signal. My phone showed full bars, but calls wouldn't connect. I tried the Wi-Fi. Connected, but no pages would load. The internet was isolated, internal. I went to the front door, unlocked it, opened it. The street outside was empty, completely empty. No cars, no bikes, no neighbors, no sound. The houses looked identical, but slightly off. Mailboxes missing numbers. Windows blank. I stepped onto the sidewalk. The air felt wrong. Too still. I walked down the street. Every house had blue shutters. Every house was painted pale gray. Every house had the same layout. And every house had a small sign by the side gate. Bluebird House. My breath hitched. I turned back. The house I exited was no longer distinguishable from the others. Identical copies stretching down the block endlessly. I ran back to the nearest one, entered through the side gate, used my code. It worked. Inside. It wasn't my suitcase, not my laptop. Different belongings, different photos on the fridge. The welcome binder lay open on the counter. A new name written inside. Welcome, Lena. Check-in time today. I staggered backward. The hallway mirror reflected me. But behind me, someone stood in the hallway. Tall, still, face obscured. I spun around. Empty. I looked back at the mirror. The figure remained, standing inches behind where I had been, watching. I realized something then. This wasn't a house with an intruder. This was a system, a trap, rotating guests through identical properties, isolating them, confusing them, disorienting them. Some of the names carved in the attic weren't scratched out. They were repeated, in multiple houses. The knocking at 10:47 wasn't random. It was a signal, a check. If you responded, you were marked. If you opened the attic, you saw too much. If you moved the mirror, you changed alignment. I don't know how many houses exist. I don't know if this neighborhood is real. But I know this. When I try to leave now, I end up inside another Bluebird house. The same binder. The same rules. The same knocking. And every time I look in the hallway mirror, the figure behind me looks clearer, more defined. Sometimes it smiles. If you ever rent a house and there's a binder with oddly specific rules, follow them. If it says don't respond, don't. If it says don't open something, trust that. Because some listings don't rotate guests. They rotate houses. And once you're assigned, you're not a guest anymore. You're part of the property. Tonight is 10:46 p.m. I'm standing under the attic hatch again. I won't knock back this time. I won't respond. But if you ever stay at the Bluebird house and you hear 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks, please don't answer. Because if you do, you'll see me carved into the attic floor, and I won't be scratched out.